Year 5 and welcome back to another art lesson. For today's lesson you will need that drawing that you were doing last week, because this is a two-part lesson. I did warn you that if you were at school you needed to make sure the drawing was with you, and if you're at home you had to make sure that the drawing was kept in a safe place. If you do not have the drawing, or you've lost the drawing, you're going to have to start again from the beginning. So hopefully you put that drawing in a safe place. You will need a pencil and a spare piece of paper. Can we turn the page today? So, as I said, it is a two-part lesson, and today's lesson we're going to be continuing to carry out that study of a building. Last week we completed step 1, where we used basic shapes to construct our buildings, and this week we're going to start to refine shapes and add detail. We're also going to look at tone and texture so that we can make our drawings appear more realistic. Some of the key words that we focused on last week were proportion. Hope you can remember what that means. I'll give you a second to think about these words. Size, faint construction lines, basic shapes, tone and texture. And we're going to keep focusing on those keywords, and you'll hear me saying those keywords again this week. They'll come up in conversation. The star challenge for today is to think about which areas on your building are going to be light and which areas are going to be dark. So to consider where the light is coming from. And that's a decision that you can make. Now, this is an example of piece of work from the first drawing lesson. As you can see, your pieces should look similar to this. So use the planning grid, observed the original image, used faint construction lines, thought about proportion using that whole page, and added the main shapes to create the structure of the building. In terms of adding those main shapes, we're talking about those geometric shapes. So at the moment there's no detail. I haven't put much detail. These are just the main shapes, those main construction lines. I haven't moved on to detail yet. So, quick review. What does the word architecture mean? You should all be able to answer that quite quickly this week. That's a review of the knowledge, the things that I've just mentioned that we did last week. So I'm not going to go through those again. So this week, as I said to you, we're going to start adding detail, and we're going to look at tone and texture. When I'm talking about detail, what am I actually referring to? And when I'm talking about tone and texture, how are we going to go about adding that? So looking back at the buildings that we started drawing last week, when I'm talking about detail, I want you to look at the drawing you have chosen and mention areas of detail. So I chose the centre building. So areas of detail would be the design on the windows. So these actual window pane design. It could be the brickwork. It could be the fire station sign. It could be the detail, the smaller details on the door. It could be this statue. It could be the light on the side of the building. It could be the Roman numerals on the clock. So that's when we're talking about detail. So I've got the basic shapes, and now I'm moving into looking at the detail. And the only way I can observe detail and looking at detail is by actually focusing on that original image. I can't make it up. I have to look at the original image for this detail to be observed accurately. So please, 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 I've included a additional document with the images of the building so that you can simply focus on those images, have them up on your screen, and focus on the image and the building that you are looking at. And the other thing I wanted us to look at today was tone and texture. So we're just going to look at what is tone and texture and how can we go about adding that. So we have actually spoken about tone in Year 5 already, and you should be able to remember that tone was the lightness or darkness of a colour. So there's the grayscale tone. You might remember doing these tonal strips. So So in your picture, you need to consider which areas are lighter and which areas are darker. Remember, to get the darker areas, you add more layers. Now we're going to look at today, we're going to focus a little bit more on texture. We have looked at texture briefly in Year 5 when we were doing our pen shell drawings, and I just want you to specifically focus on texture in relation to the buildings that we are studying today. So if you look at these textures in front of you, you can play around with them. That's why I suggested to you to have a little piece of paper next to you. So if you want to experiment, which one of these textures would be really good to represent the bricks on the building? Give it a go. What texture do you think represents the bricks on the building? I quite like that texture, that would be quite good. You might want to use some cross-hatching, and this is more of a stippling effect. So which one of these textures could represent the bricks? As I say, have a spare piece of paper, so on a piece of paper you can give it a go, you can try something out, and then when you're happy with that, what you've tried out, you can start to add that tone and texture to your final image. So your task today, you're going to continue to observe that image really, really carefully. So you're going to have it up in front of you. You're going to start to refine shapes. So if you've used basic shapes, but actually the edges are curved, you're going to go and you're going to refine those shapes. You're going to curve your edges. You're going to start to add details. So like I explained to you in the image that I selected, I'm going to go put those Roman numerals on the clock face. You are going to start to add the bricks. Are they all in a row? Are they different sizes? Are they the same size? I want you to ask yourself these questions as you're observing the image. Then you're going to start to add texture and tone. How am I going to make the glass, the windows, look reflective? How am I going to do that? How am I going to use tone in order to show that the glass is reflective? And really think about those areas. I want you to put some music on if you like working with music, relaxing music, like I often put on the piano music in the classroom. You're just going to spend time observing the original image and starting to add the tone. You've got approximately probably about 40 minutes left, no, a bit more than that, 50 minutes left of your hour, and in that time I want you to make sure you're working on quality over quantity. So what you decide to do it well. So if you decide you're going to focus on the windows or the brickwork, do it well. Okay, don't rush, take your time. This is your chance for you to experiment using your pencil. How many different tones can you achieve? How many different textures can you achieve? Just with your normal HB or whatever pencil you're using, your drawing pencil. Okay, so we're only using this one pencil today. I am very much looking forward to seeing these drawings when you upload them. I can't wait to see them. And I want you to continue asking yourself these questions. Or come back to these questions at the end, or if you get stuck, come back to these questions. Have you added detail? Have you used tone? Have you used texture? The star challenge question. Have you thought about where the light is coming from? Because if you've drawn a brick and you have said the light is coming from your right hand side, think about which side of the brick is going to be lighter and which side of the brick is going to be darker. Think about which side of the building is going to be lighter and which side of the building is going to be darker. That's a little star challenge for you. Now next week we're going to move on and we're going to look at the artist Hundertwasser. I have mentioned his name before. I asked you to look up Google some images of some of his designs. So some of you may be aware of what his work looks like already, which is absolutely fab. We'll be studying his designs, and then you're going to select one of his designs to carry out a detailed study. When you have spent your 50 minutes drawing, which is approximately what you're going to have left when I've finished this video, remember to upload your drawing to Google Classroom. I cannot wait to see it. I'm really excited about that. and I will see you next week. Look after yourselves.